الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله الله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. وقال سيدنا مصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم إن أصدق حديث كتاب الله وخير هدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأن شر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. أما بعد فيقول الله تبارك وتعالى قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم وإن تطيعوا الله ورسوله لا يلدكم من أعمالكم شيئا. Our brothers and sisters in Islam, all praises are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we ask Allah for mercy, and we ask Allah for forgiveness, and we ask Allah for His help. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil that exists within our own selves and from the evil outcome of our misdeeds. And whomever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides, no one can lead them astray. And whomever Allah leaves astray, no one can guide them. And I bear witness that there is no God except Allah, that Allah is uniquely alone without partners. And I bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the messenger of Allah and he is the seal of the prophets. At first, his advice is to have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatihi wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, have taqwa of Allah to the degree that's warranted, and don't die unless you die in a state of submission. I don't know how it would be if somebody offered me to say certain things in the khutbah that I didn't want to say, or to tailor the khutbah to a certain way. Because khutbahs, during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, his khutbah or his talks, they always centered around taqwa. Because taqwa that's the centrality of the Islamic belief system. Of course, at the center is La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. That's Tawheed. That's the center of Islam. It's Tawheed, of course. But the centrality of the belief system is all taqwa. You know, in fact, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said in the Hadith Sahih, he said, عَامَةَ مَا يُدْخِلُ النَّاسَ الْجَنَّةِ حُسْنُ الْخُلُقِ وَتَقْوَى اللَّهِ. He said the general thing that will cause people to go to Jannah is husnul khuluq, good character, and taqwa. Meaning that there's a lot of things that constitute Islam. There's a lot of laws, there's the salat, there's the zakat, there's the ahkam al-shari'ah, the laws of Islamic law, all that. But the general thing that a person goes with should be taqwa. Now what is taqwa? And then even Allah says, in the khairat at-taqwa, that the best provision is taqwa. You know, he was talking about the Hajj. فَتَزَوَّدُوا. He says, get your provisions now. I mean, get, your foodstuffs and, the things you need to go and travel with. In the khairat zad, but the best type of provision is taqwa. And the Prophet used to teach them Khutbatul in the hadith of Umar ibn al-Khattab. He used to teach us Khutbatul like he would teach us a surah of the Quran. And Khutbatul constitutes 3 verses. They all do with taqwa. So that's the general thing. So the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he took this methodology. And this is why in the majority of his speech he started by saying, tell the people, ittaqullah, have taqwa of Allah. Because taqwa comprises a lot of things. But what does taqwa mean? Taqwa is a proactive word. Taqwa is a masdar, but it's proactive. And it comes from the word waqiya, which means to be, to hide from something, or to shield yourself from something. Like in the verse, فَكَيْفَ تَتَّقُونَ إِن كَفَرْتُمْ يَوْمًا يَجْعَلُ الْوِلْدَانَ شِيبًا. There's a verse that says, فَكَيْفَ تَتَّقُونَ, right, إِن كَفَرْتُمْ. On the surface, is how can you have taqwa if you disbelieve? That's not what it means. فَكَيْفَ تَتَّقُونَ, how can you hide? فَكَيْفَ تَتَّقُونَ إِن كَفَرْتُمْ يَوْمًا يَجْعَلُ الْوِلْدَانَ شِيبًا. How can you hide if you disbelieve on the... Wake that young man up, please. How can you hide if you have disbelief on the day where a small boy will have gray hair? Talking about the day of judgment. And there's another verse in Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا يتخذ المؤمنون الكافرين أولياء من دون المؤمنين ومن يفعل ذلك فليس من الله في شيء إلا أن تتقوا منهم تقى. He says, in this another verse, Allah says, it's not for the believers to have, true believers to take unbelievers as very, very close companions. And whoever does that, he has nothing with Allah except if he does it to hide, meaning I'm doing this because I'm trying to seek safety and I have to put on this demeanor. So taqwa is the element in the person's faith that propels them to do something or to do not something, either to do something or to not do something, with keeping in mind their meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what you're thinking when it comes to taqwa. You're thinking, I'm going to do this. Maybe there's some immediate result, maybe not, but you're not really looking for the immediate result. Or I'm going to not do this. Maybe there's some immediate result, or maybe there's not an immediate result. But you're doing it because you are thinking that one day I'm going to have to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and one day I'm going to have to be accountable for my life. So the person that has taqwa, he or she is navigating their life in a way that they're looking at down the road. They're doing things that for now also, and it's permissible to do things for now. I'm doing this for now. Why are you doing this? Because I just want to have fun. Why are you doing this? Because I like that. Why are you doing it? For whatever reason. But taqwa, having taqwa, and even in your things for now, you're governing those things by taqwa. You're looking at, if I do this, what type of ramifications is this deed going to have down the road? That's why people watch their tongue. You know, you're watching your tongue because I don't want to say something that later on is going to increase and may backbite somebody, and it's adding up and it's going to affect me yawm al-qiyamah. This is taqwa. And this is what everybody tries to inculcate in their own being. A man came to the Prophet alayhi salatu salam, and he asked for some advice, and the Prophet told him 3 things. And they all had to do with taqwa. The first one was, he used the word taqwa. He said, ittaqillaha haytha ittaqillaha haythu ma kunt. He says, have taqwa of Allah no matter where you are. Like no matter where you are. Whether you're home, whether you're away, whether you're abroad, whether you're at school, whether you're at work, you exercise taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاتَّبِعْ السَّيِّئَةَ حَسَنًا تَمْحُوهَا. He says, follow every bad deed with a good deed, because the good deed will wipe away the bad deed. وَخَالِقَ النَّاسَ بِخُلُقٍ حَسَنٍ. And deal with people using good character. Because all those things has to do with taqwa. You know, having taqwa is the general, because the Prophet used to like to implore people to have taqwa of Allah, because it's a general thing. You know, he's using that context. Ittaqillaha fin nisa. Have taqwa of Allah with respect to your women. I mean, in general, when you're dealing with your women, wives, and so on, that you're using this idea of, I don't want to put myself in the jam later on with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he said in this particular hadith, he says, and follow every bad deed with a good deed, because, you know, now that's also taqwa. You know, like Allah says in the Quran, وَيَدْرَؤُونَ بِالْحَسَنَةِ السَّيِّئَةِ أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ عُقْبَى الدَّارِ جَنَّاتُ عَدْنٍ. He says, and they follow a bad deed with a good deed. وَيَدْرَؤُونَ بِالْحَسَنَةِ السَّيِّئَةِ. And they use their good deeds to follow up their bad deeds. Right? So these people should have a very, very nice abode, which is Jannah. This is what Allah says in the Quran. And then the Prophet said this other thing, deal with people with good character. This is also a thing of taqwa. So the Prophet used to emphasize that. And I can't think of anything better than to instruct people to have taqwa of Allah, God consciousness. Now, the Prophet used to encourage people with God consciousness, but also, when it came to everyday things, everyday affairs of the Muslims, he would talk to them on the basis of their agreement to have taqwa, the agreement to have Muslims. This is why it wasn't everything with the Prophet alayhi sallam. It wasn't always easy going. It was up and down, because he would deal with people on the basis of them having taqwa. Now, this is how Muslims deal with each other. This has to be the standard. For example, if I go to somebody who is, you know, clear unbeliever, criminal, you have no values. I may not be able to go to him on the basis of taqwa. Because he ain't got no, he don't believe first. I might have to start talking to him on something else. I might have to go with him on the basis of some force. I say, brother, what do you mean? Who was Allah? I'm doing something else. But the thing with the Muslim, and this is what helps protect our faith, and this is why it's so valuable and we have to uphold it. With the Muslims, there has to be a minimal moral standard of conduct and conversation that we as a group can hold each other accountable to. A minimal standard. This is the problem with the Muslim world today. This is one of the foundations of all of the different problems we see with the Muslim world. With the fighting, with the killing, with the corruption. Because people are losing that standard. There has to be a minimal standard. We know we should all have taqwa, alhamdulillah. We should all be pious, inshallah, alhamdulillah. But everybody, we know from our scholars that al-imanu yazidu yanqus. Faith goes up and down. We know that that is a reality. Person can have a lot of faith one day, maybe less next day, maybe less next day, and so on and so forth. That's true. However, we have to keep, if we want to keep our faith, because Islam is changing. Well, not Islam is changing, but Muslims are changing. But it's, believe me, stuff that you see going on in the world, believe me, it is some changes coming down the pipe. Inshallah, may Allah make us prepared for it, to deal with it, be able to navigate it, to keep our faith. And the Prophet said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, a day will come where a person will wake up in the morning, he'll be a believer, and by the time the sun sets, he'll be an unbeliever. He'll go into the evening as a believer, but by the time he wakes up in the morning, he'll be an unbeliever. And those days are already here. All the killing, all the fitna, the changing in values, all those things, they're here. And there's, we can't stop it. These things are prophesied by our Prophet alayhi salatu. These times, we know they're going to occur. We can't stop it, but the question is, how do we navigate it as Muslims? What are we going to do? Because you can easily get swept up into it, or you can fall. Now, what I want to do is try to explain to you, inshallah ta'ala, some of the ways you cannot get swept up. Because it's very easy to get swept up. Okay? Like people now will sell your faith. You just give them, you basically give many Muslims, you just give them a price. How much do you want to sell your faith for? Because we will sell it. We're so obsessed with dunya. We'll sell it low, high, depending upon the person. That's what I was trying to say in the beginning. I hope Allah save you from that. I've never been offered to sell my faith, I don't think. Not for a dollar amount. I hope if I was, I would be able to hold fast, inshallah, but I don't know what I would do. But people sell their faith very quickly. They sell their faith for, small amounts of gain. For a member of the opposite sex. I see people sell their faith for a woman. You sell your faith for a man. You sell your faith over some car, houses, little stuff, job. You sell your whole faith. That time is here. Okay? But I want to just talk to you about how to navigate. How to hold fast. Okay? Of course, if we hold fast to the Kitab and the Sunnah, that's the answer. Yes, I get that, and that is the truth. But I want to give you some detail. How to hold fast. How to hold fast in the light of things that's going on. Now let's go back to this taqwa issue. Because taqwa is at the key of that. You have to keep your eye on the prize. And what is the prize? The prize is Jannah. For the believer, that's the prize. You have to keep your eye on the prize. You have to keep in mind that all the mata' al-hayat al-dunya, all of the good things, the ones, I'm talking about the stuff that's permissible, alhamdulillah, enjoy it, but you have to keep in mind that this enjoyment is going to be temporary. You have to keep, don't get caught up. Don't put all of your effort into that, right? You know that it's going to be temporary. People lose it all the time. We see it in the news. It could be one of us next. Just look around you. People die every day, and they leave behind everything that they have. And one day we will die. One day I will die, and I'm going to leave behind everything that I own. It is going to be gone. The only thing we're going to have left is my deeds, and that goes for everybody. You got to keep that in mind. 3, you have to. This is the hard part. This is the hard part. This is the hard part. You have to continuously remind yourself and remind others. Start with the believers. Start with Muslims. A lot of times we put emphasis on non-Muslims, reminding them of what they're doing wrong, but we forget our own selves, and that's, that's another problem. You have to remind yourself, remind others of our religious or moral values. And that's hard. Especially hard when there's a lot of opulence, there's a lot of material stuff. Because nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that. In pop culture, you're not even supposed to judge. They tell you from the beginning, one of the standards of modern pop culture is, you can't judge. Don't judge me. Don't judge him. Don't judge nobody. You don't even judge yourself. So everything, the shaitan wants to make everything permissible. There's no right and there's no wrong. And a lot of Muslims are caught up in that. Sometimes it comes back to haunt them later, but they're still caught up in it. So you want to remove that. So this is the hard part, because this makes you seem like a party pooper in modern times. You're the party pooper. Oh, here we go again with that. Come on, brother. Can I have some fun? Can I just have a drink? What's right? Why are you talking about, seriously? Listen, people have gotten on me about talking about Muslims owning liquor stores in black neighborhoods. I think that is atrocious. Hey man, why are you making a big deal about that? Well, I don't care. But I'm just saying, because there has to be that voice. There has to be that goodness. Now, do you do that all the time, 24/7? No. No. But there still has to be a minimal moral standard that Muslims, that we hold each other to. Because when we lose that, then you have lost all of Iman. Because that part right there, that's the hating it in your heart, like the Prophet said. Man ra'a minkum munkira. And I know people, I love this hadith. This is a reminder for me. But this is one of the hadith, because many hadith of the Prophet are starting to become disliked to many Muslims. It's unfortunate. Like I said, what we know to be Islam is changing and changing and changing. It's changing fast, but it's changing, it's fast, but it's changing incrementally. So we can't really see how it's changing. But the Prophet said, Man ra'a minkum munkira falyughayyirhu biyadihi وإن لم يستطع فبلسانه وإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان. He says, whoever of you who sees that which is detestable, then he should change it with his hand. He should change it. That's part of who the Muslim is supposed to be. Like I said, we've come along, we're off where we're supposed to be as an ummah. Change it with his hands, but if he's unable to do that, then he should change it with his tongue. He should say something about it. Saying something about it doesn't mean that you're beating your people over the head with it, but you're just saying, hey, I'm voicing, I said what I had to say, you know, because there's a minimum moral level that we should uphold, and I'm just saying, this is not right, brothers. This is not right, sisters. This is not right, ummah. Even with the tragedy that's going on in the Muslim world, I think Muslims who are free to speak should speak out against certain things. I mean, at least to say, hey, you know what? It's not right that Muslims are killing each other in the streets and bombing masajid and killing women and children and bombing people while they shopping. This is wrong, and you should stop. At least some kind of condemnation. Maybe you're not going to do it every day of the week, every day, you know, of the month, but at least you said it. You've gotten it off you. So the Prophet said, if he can't change it with his hand, then with his tongue to speak out against it. But he says, but if he's unable to do that, then with his heart, hating in his heart. In one narration in Sahih Muslim, he said, and there's nothing after that left of faith. There's not even Khutbatul khurda. There's not even a mustard seed's worth of faith left after that. Meaning, if you don't at least hate something in your heart, you have no faith left. And this is what we're worried about happening to us as Muslims. That there has to be, we have to maintain some minimal moral standards that we hold ourselves accountable to and we hold each other accountable to. Because this is the essence of Islam. We don't want to be at a point where, you know, being Muslim just means saying that you're Muslim. There has to be a minimal standard. Even now, some of the pressure that's on the Muslims globally, you know, to like abandon any practical application of Islam, even the Sharia, you know. And listen, I've already told you to have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the most important thing from this khutbah today. But the Prophet alayhi salam, he used to help people understand some of what was going on in their lives today. And I want you to I want to help you understand some of this stuff. Even some of the ways that we're talking about Islamic law and Sharia and Islamic State, you know, and we know everybody, you know, who follows the news know that they have an Islamic State, so-called Islamic State in Syria, you know, in the Levant, and they're committing a lot of atrocities, and you know, it's unfortunate, you know, what's going on. It's even more unfortunate we don't even know the good guys from the bad guys. That's why Muslims, we have to kind of stay with Kitab and Sunnah. We enjoin what Allah says, we forbid what Allah forbids. We enjoin what the Prophet says, we forbid what the Prophet forbade, without getting too caught up on personalities. Because for real, we don't know what's going on over there, except what we see on the news. We don't know who's funny. We don't know who's the bad guys. I wouldn't be surprised if our government was funding both sides. I wouldn't be surprised, because that's how we get down. Sometimes. Our foreign policy. Especially when it comes to Muslim lands. We believe in divide and conquer. That's what we believe in. And if I can see that from the minbar, I'm sure people getting paid $200,000 a year to look at it, they can see even closer than I can. So I try not to get too much involved in that, other than say that as Muslims, we are against terrorism. Muslims, we are against killing of innocent, whether it be Muslim, Christian, Jew. That we uphold righteousness. We're against corruption. And this is what a Muslim has to settle on. You have to settle on this moral belief system. Don't get drawn in to the personalities. Don't get drawn into the groups. I can't say which group I support or don't support. I support any group that's trying to truly make Allah's word, His true word, highest in the land. Don't get caught with that. This is all smoke screens. Smoke screens for Muslims. Sometimes it's traps to get the Muslim involved, you know, because you can say just the wrong thing, they'll lock you up for supporting terrorism. I know we're not supposed to say that as humans, but, you know, mashallah. You know, I mean, we get FBI here, you know, and they reach out, and some of them are, I think, maybe halfway decent people. And if any of them are here now, like I told you before, make sure when the box go around, drop the money in the box, and I won't think you're an agent. Unless you put too much money in there, they're like, hey, what you doing? No, but I have to tell you the truth. These things, these issues are coming to bear on the Muslim people. You know. So how do we stay straight? The way you stay straight is you have to stick to Scripture. You have to stick to the minimum moral standards of Islam. The minimum moral standards of Allah that He laid down. The minimum moral standards of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. That is the safest place for the Muslim to be. That's the safest place to be. You know, and that's why Allah kept it general. And He didn't talk specifically about supporting this group or that group. He kept it general. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wa ihsani wa ita'i dhil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkari wal baghi. Really, Allah enjoys adl wa ihsan, justice and goodness, wa ita'i dhil qurba, and maintaining relationships with the family. Wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkar, and he forbids fahsha, evilness, licentiousness, bad things, wal baghi, transgression. This is how Allah talks, and this is how the Muslim has to speak. This is how you navigate through all this stuff, because it's good. They even, you know, listen, somebody can ask you, well, who do you support? Who do you support, brother? Who are you saying that you support this, so? I'm saying I support God. And I support His word. And I support His prophet. Does that mean, brother, this is no, I'm not. You see, you don't get caught. Don't fall for the trap. This is the safest position, wallahu a'lam, for Muslims in the world today, is to keep themselves circulating around the central moral themes and reality, the things that we know are true from our Scripture. But now when you do that, you have to apply it to yourself first. That's the other thing. That's the other hard part. I'm telling you, and I wasn't going to say this today, I was going to say it for next week, but I'm going to tell you now anyway. I can't keep those secrets. I just want you brothers and sisters to know, okay? I want to tell you the issue. If you want to get ahead of the issue morally, unless everybody want to get ahead, I'm not, you know, saying everybody wants to get ahead of the issue morally, but if you want to get ahead of our moral issues, because this is the issue that's going to keep coming back to get us. Okay? The single greatest issue that affects the Muslim people in the world today, This is the most incendiary issue, the most destructive issue, the issue that causes more blood to be shed, more property to be taken, more innocent lives to be lost, more than any other issue affecting the 1.2 billion Muslims in the world. And it's wrapped up in three things. The issue of racism, tribalism, sectarianism, nepotism, and allegiance to your group, your shaykh, your color, your race, above all else. Right? That's the biggest issue that's going to affect Muslims. I don't care where you go. If you look in Pakistan, if you look in Syria, if you look in Libya today, where they have the civil war going on in Libya, you look in Kashmir, India, Egypt, Sudan, Somalia, every one of these places, you find sectarian warfare going on based upon, sometimes based upon tribe. I'm talking about within Islam. I'm not talking about Muslim against non-Muslim. I'm just talking about Muslim on Muslim. Because Muslim on Muslim killing is much worse for a Muslim than Muslim against non-Muslim. It's much worse spiritually. No matter where you go, this is what you're going to find. You're going to find sectarian killing either based upon tribe, sometimes based upon race and ethnicity, sometimes based upon madahib, religious leaning, sometimes based upon two religious sects, whether it's Shia or Sunni, sometimes based upon simple color of the skin, nothing else. Sometimes based upon nationality. Sometimes based upon revenge from a previous killing based upon one of these things. Right? Now, let me tell y'all something. The reason why that is the biggest issue, because that is the issue that, and I'll talk about this more next week, that is the issue that brought down Iblis himself. Iblis was the first, he was the first sect, he was the first one to use the idea of sectarianism to wage war against mankind. Because he said, Ana khayrun minhu. Khalaqtani min narin wa khalaqtahu min tin. Iblis, Shaitan, the devil, said, I'm better than human beings. Because you created me out of fire. And you created them out of mud. And on that basis, he felt that he was given something inherently that made him better than human beings. And so when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after Allah asked him to prostrate to mankind out of respect, Abba was stakbar wa kana min al-kafirin, he refused and was haughty, was of the unbelievers, and he waged war against mankind until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Now, if you think, I'm not going to say put yourself in Iblis' shoes, but if something that can bring him down, don't you think he would use that to bring the Ummah down? That just would be the rational thing. He said, man, because in reality, And this is something Muslims are going to have to deal with one day or another. We're not going to move forward morally at all until we deal with this issue. I'm talking about globally. I'm talking about American Muslims, African Muslims, Middle East Muslims, Asian Muslims. Mark my words, and Allah knows best. We will not move not one step forward morally until we address this issue of sectarianism, of racism, of ethnic. Seriously. All the different ethnic groups in America, if we didn't have the rule of law, we'd be fighting. You know, I know that. This happens to be America, rule of law. But if we didn't have the rule of law in this country, we'd be rumbling, the Muslims, against each other based upon ethnic groups. Because somebody come along, okay, I'm going to subjugate the blacks, I'm going to say, we ain't going to do it, I'm going to subjugate this, and it's going to be on. But we have the rule of laws in America. I know some of you don't want to hear that, too bad. But we won't make any progress morally. So, in order to take that moral high ground, brothers and sisters, and I said that the minimum moral standard that we have to hold each other accountable to, here's how you do it. And I want to end on this. It's going to be hard. I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, if you listen to what I'm saying, this is one, it's not the only way. Allah knows best that's the only way, but this is one of the main ways that Muslims can hold on to a moral high ground of thinking and action. And help protect itself from some of the turmoil. Okay. You have to stand up for the truth, for what's right, for good, you know, stand up for good, forbid the evil, irrespective of anybody's race, color, background, family. That means that if my son commits a moral infraction, this is my son. Not only is he my son, he's my blood, he's my tribe, he's my color, race, all of that. I have to be willing to call him into account in the same way as I call someone else into account. I can't say, I'm going to say something about this group, but not speak about this other group. Or I can't say, I'm going to talk about the issues that affect Muslims coming from overseas, but I'm not going to talk about African American Muslims because I'm African American and that's my tribe. I have to be willing to do that. In order for me to maintain a high moral ground, I have to take the sectarianism out of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Because this was the objective of the Prophet from the very beginning. And that's why Allah says, إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن ذَكَرٍ وَأُنثَىٰ وَجَعَلْنَاكُم شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِندَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. He said, verily we created you from male and female and made you into nations and tribes to know one another. إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِندَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. Verily the most honored of you to Allah is the one who has the most piety. And if we look at the Prophet himself, how was he able to maintain the moral ground? Because from the very beginning, the Prophet called to La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. He enjoined the good, he forbade the evil, irrespective of the tribes. That was one of the reasons people was opposing him. He didn't care if you were from Quraysh. He didn't care if you were from Banu Hashim, Banu Mustalik. Banu Umayyah. It didn't matter to him. And he started with his own tribe, with his own family. So what he said, it what goes for the goose goes for the gander. This is a big chunk for Muslims to take. I don't think we can do it this generation. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. But this is the way that it's coming down internationally. This is our foreign policy as a nation. We bank on that. When we send advisors to Iraq, we bank. We say, listen, okay, listen. We know the Kurds, and you got the Sunnis, you got the Shia, you got the Kurds over here, you got the tribes. We got to pay off the Sunni chiefs, pay the Kurds, check the Turks, get the Iraqi Shia, get them over here, pay them off, get them. We got to pay the moderate Sunnis to fight the ISIL while they fight. That's what we do. That's how we do it. But nobody, we can't blame anybody as Muslims. We can't blame anybody for our sectarianism because our Prophet ﷺ commanded us to hold a different moral standard. So brothers and sisters, in order to maintain that moral standard of Islam, you have to think outside the box. You have to think of yourself as a Muslim first. Not as a Pakistani Muslim, not as an Afghani Muslim, not as a black Muslim, not as a white Muslim, not as a Mexican Muslim, not as an Egyptian Muslim, not as an Eritrean Muslim or Somali Muslim. You think of yourself as a Muslim first. That's going to be difficult because we've already separated into groups. Allah says, "Inna hadhihi ummatukum ummatan wahida, فَأَنَا رَبَّكُمْ فَاتَّقُونْ فَتَقَطَّعُوا أَمْرَهُمْ بَيْنَهُمْ زُبُرًا كُلُّ حِزْبٍ بِمَا لَدَيْهِمْ فَرِحُونَ." He said, "Verily this ummah is one ummah, I am your Lord, therefore fear me." But they have separated their affair into factions. كُلُّ حِزْبٍ بِمَا لَدَيْهِمْ فَرِحُونَ. Every group is rejoicing with what it has. Now, this is not going to change overnight. I don't think so. I'm telling you. Mark what I am saying to you today. This is the number one issue. And anyone, anywhere in the world, who is opposed to Islam and opposed to Muslims, this is the issue that they can use to cause destruction within our ummah. And this is the issue most use. This is what everybody uses. But if people can use that against us, if they can use our sectarianism and our allegiance to our own tribes above all else, right or wrong, against us, it's nobody's fault but our own. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Brothers and sisters in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O you believe that TAQWAH wa qulu qawlan sadida yuslih lakum a'malakum wa yaghfir lakum dhunubakum wa man yuti' Allah wa rasulahu faqad faza fawzan 'azima." ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات وألف بين قلوبنا واجعل في قلوبنا الإيمان والحكمة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. ونصلي ونسلم ونبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله عظيما يذكركم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون.
الله أكبر الله أكبر.